Hi, Jenna.
Hi.
Welcome to the Magic Hour.
I'm excited to be here.
Well, full disclosure, this is actually our second episode recording, which we'll get into a
Yeah.
little bit in the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think it gives some good context.
Yeah.
But why don't you tell us who you are? Well, I'll give you a little bit of a brief intro.
Ooh, I love this. I can't wait to hear what you say about me.
You are actually, so we had Courtney on.
Mhm.
And you are the second half of our therapist that share the space
Mhm.
at 135 West Almost. So you and Courtney share a room.
Yes.
And originally when I knew that I wanted therapist in the space. And I remember, I was on Courtney and then I was on you, and I think maybe your lease was up at your last space,
Yeah.
and I was just like, this could be really cool. And so
I
I
know.
remember like texting you and Courtney and being like, you guys should meet, see if you can figure out schedules.
Yeah.
And then it just like all kind of came together.
It
and
aligned beautifully,
It really
perfectly. We were
did.
actually both, me and Courtney were shocked because obviously we had never met each other.
Yeah.
And it was our first time meeting, and we're both therapists. I mean,
Right.
we're going to be so specific too, even about the vibe in that space and each other. And we're like, oh, okay, wait, this is going to work. And the exact schedule that she was looking for was like the opposite of it. Was perfect.
I remember you
Yeah,
telling me
it
that.
was
And I was
crazy.
like, this is so
Meant to be.
meant to be.
Yeah.
And I also remember having a conversation with a friend, and she was like, because full disclosure, you are my therapist.
Yes.
And she was like, is it going to be weird? And I kind of was like, well, Jenna and I have like navigated
Yeah.
stranger things.
Yes.
So I feel like it'll be okay.
Exactly.
And really, it's been great. I mean, like,
Easy.
we have fun between client conversations,
Yeah.
where we're like woofing down our lunch.
Yes.
So do you want to give us a little bit of like, so you are a therapist.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us like your bio?
Sure. Yeah. So I have my master's in marriage and family therapy. I decided last minute to pivot when it came to licensure because
Okay.
I felt like it was a little restrictive. And at the time, you couldn't like have your own practice until you did all these hours and blah, blah, blah. So I ended up going kind of like a certification route.
Okay.
Basically, I do the same exact thing. It's still titled as a therapist.
Okay.
But I really go after a lot more of like trauma work. I like a lot of integrative work as well.
What does that
Relationship
mean?
stuff.
Like for an
Yeah.
therapy newbie, what is integrative work?
Just very much the whole person, mind, body, spirit, nervous system regulation, subconscious work, just getting all into the details of everything, inner child work.
Okay.
And then making sure to actually apply it. So there's like this one part in therapy that a lot of people kind of get stuck on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just like learning all of the data, right? So it's like, oh yeah, I do probably have this wound from my dad in my past, right? And so it's
Right.
all super logical, which is a very important step, but there needs to be that next where it's like once you've gotten all that information, you know yourself in that sense, you got to the roots. It's like now we need to go do some actual nervous system regulation tools, like teach that to your inner self that, okay, it is safe now, and being able to speak basically your body's language. So it could be through breath work, somatic practices, movement, and stuff like that. And so that's
Do you
what I
feel
do.
like that's the part, like, because sometimes with talk therapy, it's like people are like, I just don't need to go anymore and talk about my problems. And so maybe that is the more the integrative component where it's like they're getting homework assignments on like tools, like I feel like that's what's missing from a lot of therapy.
I'm like,
Is
that
like
could be a
people
whole
just go and
Yeah.
talk, and then they're like, but they're not really like.
I will have to say, I think that this is a little bit of the sad part that came from it's hard to say sad, but outdated. How about that?
Okay.
Outdated part of like my master's is a lot of what I've learned in there is not at all what I use in actual practice.
But I feel like that's with like I remember being in esthetician school, and it's
Yeah.
like I didn't learn really anything.
Well,
I mean,
But
to be honest,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, totally. But I think there's a lot of therapists who are sticking to what they learned
right, which
in
is
school.
nothing.
Right.
Right,
Or
right,
it only goes to a certain point. So
right.
there's a lot of people out there who are seeking therapy and probably have these little bit higher expectations, and they're kind of like, "Hey,
Hey.
why isn't my therapist like giving me a little bit more here? Or why do I feel like we keep getting stuck here?" And it doesn't mean that the therapist was bad necessarily, but there certainly wasn't education, and if they're not knowing what to seek out,
Right.
I only found myself in that place because I have done so much therapy for myself. And before I even got in my master's, I was doing so much trauma healing for me that it
Right.
opened up my world to all of that. So I incorporated that into my practice.
Well, I remember that was like, so, you came to see me first as like a client,
Yeah.
when I was at hiatus. And
Yeah.
I remember just hearing you talk about your own therapy journey and
Yeah.
like thinking that that was so inspirational because I do think there's like a bunch of therapists out in the world that aren't actually going to therapy. And
Yeah.
so it's like, which I don't know how you could do that job. And
I don't know either because it's
yeah,
so important to me. It
yeah,
also keeps me in tune and in touch with
yeah.
clients. So I'm very surprised when you don't really hear that a therapist is going to their own therapy. I get it. If like, I mean, my gosh, I was going to therapy since I was 19. So I'm 35 now.
Wow.
And I was probably going weekly to biweekly most of those years.
Okay.
So at this point, like now I do like check-ins more so.
Right.
If I have something really come up that's like a situation that I want to work through or whatever, I'll do that. But I mean, that's a whole lot
That's
that I'm
a
like,
whole lot.
I get at this
Yeah.
point. But other than that, if you're not putting that much in, I feel like you want to go a little more regularly.
Right.
Slash, there might be a really great therapist that you see how they are doing, their work. And it can be really inspiring, or there's
Right.
something about it. It's like, oh, that was really good for, this part. And I would love to bring that into my
Bring that
practice.
into your practice. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's why every time I travel, I try to get facials. And
Yes. I
even if
love
it's
that you do
something,
that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
even if it's something like negative
Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, I would never do that. But it's
Yes.
like, it's still so valuable to like have that perspective.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so one question I like to ask everyone when they first come is when was the last time you experienced magic?
Ooh,
So magic can be
magic.
different for everyone. It can be like synchronicity, like, the sun on your shoulders, or just like a
Mm,
moment, a memory, like just a time when you just like magic for me a lot of times is like gratitude.
yeah, no, absolutely. I was about to say, like, two things are kind of coming up at once, but I feel like I find my magic is like myself.
Okay.
Okay, you're like, where are you going
Okay,
with
yeah, I
this?
was like, okay, the magic is yourself.
The magic
Okay.
is me,
The
and
magic is
I'm a
me.
narcissist. Plot twist. Um,
Is there a mirror in the
yeah, I'm
studio
sorry.
so I could just
I'm
look
just
at
kidding. Yeah.
myself?
No, I now I'm like, how do I say this? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I was thinking of how people like to like create and have
Yeah.
like these projects, and I'm like, I've kind of felt that way about me, but not in some way of like, oh, I'm always like less than. I just actually find it so fascinating to see the parts of me that are like underdeveloped, or I have like trauma in, or I'm like, oh my gosh, that is still unsafety in my body, and da da da. And so like it's when I have these little aha moments that
That
happen so
feels
much,
magical.
they
Yeah.
feel so magical to me. Or like even recent, I was just realizing how much I had this like thought in my mind that if you're not like basically perfect, next to perfect at something, don't do it. Yeah, that was from my dad. And so my dad.
Yeah.
Anyways, that led me to just like not pursue things, not have my creative outlets, not do things unless I was like very, very
So
good
good
at
at
it.
it. Yeah.
And like recently I'm like, wow, I really lived under that for so long that it was so second nature. I wasn't like purposefully thinking that or
Yeah.
consciously thinking that every day, but that's just it
What
was so
happened?
wired in me. That's what was
Yeah.
happening. And I was like, I need a creative outlet. And I used to like love drawing. Um, not like I'm not some like great crazy
Sure.
good artist, but I loved it. And so like
Yeah.
recently, I got my little sketchbook and I got like my pencils and I'm starting to
Just like sketch and draw.
sketch and draw and like create. And I was like, oh, I'm having fun with myself.
That feels very magical.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and it's interesting too when you're like working on something really creative, it's like time kind of slows down.
Yes. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Huge reason, honestly, why I did it because
Yeah.
it's been so noisy, let's
Mm.
say, lately. And doing the work in just the office can also just be so much
Yeah.
that I'm like, I just need it to be like calmed down around me. I
Yeah.
need to get calmed down. I
Well, and
want
a lot of
silence.
people, I think too, with like a hobby or something like sketching, it's like they think it has to like make money to be relevant or valid.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what am I going to do with this? I've thought about that like a lot of times when I do like, what's the point of a puzzle? Because like,
Oh.
what do you do when it's over? Like, I'm not going to like frame
You're
it.
like, well, some people do.
Well, they do, but I'm not. So
Yeah.
I'm always like, well, what is, you put all this work into it.
Right. Right. You're like, what's the point?
Well, that's why I'm saying like a lot of people apply that logic to a lot of hobbies.
For
like,
sure.
Which is,
That's
late
kind of
stage capitalism where it's like everything has to make me money. And it's like there can be no whimsy and joy from just like
but all
doing.
but I also wonder if a little bit is going along with dysregulated nervous systems because
Sure.
I was doing that in my own form and it was actually the slow down felt uncomfortable because
Yeah.
I was not used to being in the slow down, but it's
Right.
not of my doing. It's from just old wiring. And if I
Yeah.
hadn't paid attention, I wouldn't have known.
Right.
And it's actually like the more in tune, the more healing, the more I'm like valuing slowing down and understanding the importance of slowing down. That's like not how it's always been at all.
Yeah.
I like could hear it and conceptually understand, oh yeah, slowing down's good. But it wasn't, I
you
wasn't
weren't living
truly,
it. You weren't embodying it.
no,
Right.
and I didn't really fully know how to yet because there's like
Right.
both. Like I had to hit on the subconscious roots and then heal those places, but then also just start walking it out.
Which is funny because I've been thinking a lot about like I feel like a lot of my practice is nervous system informed,
Totally.
but one of the things that is like totally not in alignment with my nervous system is the way that I drive.
For sure.
I mean, I am
A bat out of hell.
kind of insane driver. And I'm like, I really have to like work on this. Like, this is because it is the place where like my nervous system regulation, like, I just allow it to go like
Full throttle.
wild.
You're like, this is my drama. I needed a hit.
Like, I thought about it the other day. I was like, honestly, like, I do get adrenaline hits off my drive.
No,
Like,
seriously.
it's yeah.
And like, let me be clear too. Like, it's not some horrible bad thing to have these places where we have nervous system dysregulation. That's where I find like, that's why I honestly, I'm like, I know it sounds weird, but I find the magic in it because you can actually have fun and play with learning these things about
So, like,
yourself.
yeah,
Like, it's
but,
kind
like-
of silly. And then it's like, oh, I now it's highlighted to me. I can do something about it. Like how funny, like play with it, not feel like, oh, this
I'm
shows
such
how
a bad person.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
so
so
dysregulated.
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
Get
I
it
mean,
together.
My favorite thing to do is, as you know, is like turn it around on myself and be like, well, I'm so bad at this.
Exactly. And so many people do. And oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're all
hello.
guilty of it, right?
Yes,
But
yes,
it's
yes,
like,
yes.
I think you're right. It's like just kind of like making a joke out of it. Cause I mean, at bringing awareness to it is so like the one thing that I've started with is like a lot of times like I'll narrate like what they're doing. Oh, we're breaking. So
No, in the car? That's so good. That is like very bridesmaids, Kristen Wiig.
And so I've decided to try start there.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm probably not going to slow down at first, but maybe the
steps.
narrating, I'll be like, oh, is it fucking, look at your fucking braid. So I've tried to work on that.
I love that. That's great.
Maybe just like not narrating because A, they can't hear, and B, it's like not going to change anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
It's kind of fun and theatrical.
which is really funny because I'm not ever like outwardly expressive
Mhm.
to people. Like I'm never like flicking anyone off, but it's
Mhm.
so funny when people like flick me off. I'm like, oh, your nervous system is like so that
Yeah.
like that's so
Oh, that really
tacky.
got you,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And meanwhile, I've been like berating people behind the wheel for the
Yeah.
last 30 minutes. So that for sure is like, just a part
Well,
of like bringing in that nervous system, the slowing down.
yeah.
Um so the last time we were on here,
Mhm.
which we have since filed that podcast away for multiple
It's locked
reasons.
away.
It's locked
Mhm.
away in a vault.
Yeah.
Vault. We recorded that. I think maybe you were my second recording.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very early.
Very
Very
early.
early.
I was very fresh off a
Yes.
breakup. Yeah,
Yes.
I think it was 2 weeks at that point. I
Uh-huh.
feel like I was I mean, I was
You
shell
were
shocked.
raw.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
was
were
very
probably
raw.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
about to say for sure still in a little shock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, it was really like a cathartic recording,
Yes.
but when we looked at like kind of it releasing and it was, supposed to release around this time, you and I kind of talked and like, I just think when you're 6 months out of a breakup, it's
Yeah,
a way different perspective. And
totally.
I'm glad that we had that perspective, but I do feel like, not that necessarily I was giving, I mean, I think I was just being 2 weeks from being broken up with, with someone that I really, really loved
Yeah.
or do really love. And
Yeah.
it was really hard to just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it felt, which I didn't try to like fake it, but it just feels now like I've integrated more of like what my issues, like what I brought to that.
Totally.
And then the other component is at the at the time you were in a relationship with someone that you had broken up with before, and you guys had kind of like taken some time, worked on some things, got back together,
Mhm.
and now since have broken up. So that
Yes.
also didn't feel relevant.
Correct.
So we both kind of were like,
Let's
re-
get back to this.
let's go back to the table with this.
Yeah.
And
Plus, I feel like we get to have a little bit of a different purpose. Like that episode's, it's not, that one was not bad. It's just, I don't
for
think
sure.
fit the actual, what the goal, the purpose that we would want. Like if we wanted it to be just the emotional rawness,
Yeah,
that's one thing.
we got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
that,
we nailed that part.
works.
Yeah,
But that's just not ultimately what was,
helpful. Like
the focus that
right.
you wanted to put out there. That
and
makes
I
sense.
think for me, it's like I wanted to talk to you just like from therapist standpoint, like having been through your own breakup, like maybe
Yeah.
some of the things that you
Yeah.
did to heal, like you feel are healing.
Yeah.
We had a very different breakup.
Definitely.
Mine felt very out of the blue.
It was.
Very okay.
It was
Yeah.
whiplash.
It was very whiplash.
Yeah.
It wasn't something like where there was like, all these fights um and also it's like the day we broke up, we have not talked
Yeah.
since.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem to be a very common thing for breakups. So, I think you've referenced it, calling it like an avoidant discard.
He's probably dismissive avoidant.
Dismissive avoidant, right.
Yeah.
And then like the avoidant discard is like the way that they break up because they just like close the
Just
door and it's just like
yeah.
over.
Out the gate. It's
Yes.
just, yeah.
Like, and sometimes I think, maybe he did me a favor because I just like, I don't know that, like, I think it would have been a lot harder if he like had continued to talk to me. Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it just like felt so raw and tender. And so like, in a way it's been nice to just like I have not reached out, which I think sometimes people are like, well, maybe you just like didn't really love him because people like break up
What?
and then they reach. Yeah, I've had a lot of people say that.
Really?
Like, yeah, like
That's interesting.
I can't believe he left and you've like never reached out again. And I'm like, well, I think when when you feel like disrespected and
Yeah.
like the rug just kind of pulled out from underneath you, it kind of feels like, well, I got the answer I needed.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, also, you had been doing a lot of work on yourself too,
Yeah.
and I think there was a lot of things that you were trying to apply in moving
Yeah.
forward. And like, you know, you weren't going to try to go beg and figure things out. And you
Yeah.
knew how big that connection was. At the end of the day, you were really doing what you felt like was best for you. And I
Yeah.
think there's sadness in knowing that he
Oh,
didn't reach out.
for sure.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. But like for you, you were doing the best that you could and what you knew what to do with to be like, at the end of the day, this happened to me. Like, I
Right.
gotta protect my heart. I need to heal. Like, and you had other things going on when this went down that also you were
Right.
needing to heal from.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, I do not think that that had anything to do with how much you loved
Yeah, I
them.
don't think that like the judgment of like that doesn't mean that I loved him any less or
For
was like any
sure.
more. I almost think like in a way it's like I loved him too much to like go
Yeah.
back to like that, you
Yeah.
know?
Because you
And
knew that it was really exposing something like, obviously, then this is a problem,
yeah,
and this is way bigger than just like a
station.
conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, which it was,
Yeah. I think you
and
handled it right.
okay.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
We can put that. Well, I think when I think about the way that you've handled your breakup,
Yeah.
and we've had those conversations, like, you and the person that you broke up with, like, had this like dinner and, you
Yeah.
like kind of said goodbye to each other. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I I don't know that I personally could have handled that, but I do think that there is something more like honorable to like what you shared
Yeah.
that like at least I think that's like what I has been missing that I really needed was just to like hear what it meant to
Yes.
him
Yeah.
and like that it did mean something because I think when you leave in that way and then you never hear from them, it feels like it never meant what
Yeah.
it meant.
Yes.
And so I
Yes.
think to watch you guys like kind of dismantle this thing that you
Yeah.
like built um was really cool. And like
Thank you.
just the comparison felt like, mine was
Yeah.
like a band-aid rip and yours was more just like, okay, well, let's like dress the wound.
Yeah.
Why do you think you chose to like handle it like that? Like,
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to real quick say, like, what you're describing, and I'm sure other people have experienced, that's just like total abandonment. So you get
yeah.
attached to somebody and then a completely gone, like
Yeah.
such an abandonment wound or abandonment. And then if you already had abandonment wounds, that's going to send
Yeah.
you to orbit. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's so much to have to work through. So traumatic, to be honest.
Yeah. Very.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
much. And I don't wish that upon anybody at all ever. That's really hard to go through. But being able to like kind of, I don't know, I'm like, I don't like to be boxed in on like the right thing and the wrong thing to do and da da da. I try my best to do what feels sincere and authentic in the moment. And
Mhm.
to me, with the breakup, it was just like at the end of the day, I care about this person.
Yeah.
We had this underlying friendship. Neither one of us did something to each other that was just
Right.
like so awful.
Egregious. Like
Yeah.
there was no cheating. Like you
No,
weren't, like
it wasn't
me throwing
ugly.
plate. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, that's, yeah.
There's like sincere hurts, that did happen within the relationship. And then there was obviously some things that just like we're on separate pages.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there was respect.
Right.
We respected each other, cared about each other. And so
Yeah.
I think that was it. It was nice to be able to kind of slowly unravel because we did share,
A life.
yeah, almost
Yeah.
close to 3 years together.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was also good for my system.
Right.
It felt like slowly but surely, and didn't just feel like, because I know that would have for sure hit my deep, deep, deep wounds, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It for sure.
And
Cause
what do? You have to
yeah.
rise to the occasion when it
Right.
happens. But if you do have somebody who's like also willing to have conversations, It is kind of a nice way to exit and
Exit.
pull away.
Yeah.
And what do they call it? Conscious uncoupling or whatever.
Right.
In a
I
weird way,
think
it was kind of like that.
conscious. Yeah. I think what would be really hard for me and is just like you're having all these like conversations. And I think in the back of my mind, I would just be like, but why can't we make this like actually work? And I
Mm.
think that plays to a lot of like my uh, I don't want to say like trauma, but like I'm always like, we can figure this out,
The
which,
hopeful piece.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think having those conversations, I would be like, well, look, we can have this conversation.
Yeah.
Why can't we make this
Yeah. And that's why, oh gosh, it's kind of like the disclaimer I wish I would have said at the very beginning of the episode. But everyone is so
different?
different. We
Yeah.
keep hearing like all these things that are pretty blanketed, like
Yeah.
avoidance
Social
and,
media is like,
oh,
just like set us up for these, like, it has to be like
yes,
this.
and
Yeah.
I can't stand it
It's not
because
one size fits all.
no,
Yeah.
it's so nuanced, it's so gray. I mean, the littlest thing can have all these other like results from it. So,
Right.
like, my disclaimer is we can say things in this that help give wisdom, but at the end of the day, you want to work with a therapist or a coach or
Or
whoever is
whatever's
good at
best
this
for you.
work, whatever's
Yeah.
best for you, that will be able to see you intimately and can see all the little, twists and turns. Because that's, I mean, it's just
Yeah.
such not a one size, and situations can be different
Do you
too.
think that being a therapist helped you have this hold this container?
I think, yeah,
Do you
I think so.
feel like in your breakup, like you were kind of like leading the charge?
Of the uncoupling, let's just
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. Probably, you know what? Probably in the emotional sense, yes.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think you would agree with that.
Okay.
Just because, we were on different pages in that sense. But I mean, he arrived, let's say, and like he
Yeah.
would, there would
He
definitely be
was a
times
willing
he
participant in
was a
it.
willing
Yeah. You
participant.
didn't have to like drag him or like beg him to do it. He like was
No.
into
And then sometimes
it.
he would reach out on his own, like if just something popped up in his head, which
Mm,
I really was thankful for this. It was helpful and healing for me. But he
yeah.
would be like, I just randomly thought of the time XYZ, and you probably didn't feel hurt or whatever. He would just say something, and own it and acknowledge it, and that's it. And we didn't like have this hour-long conversation. Well, we need to break this down, and it was just
Yeah.
like it was little exchanges like that. We didn't have these big hashing it out for
Yeah.
hours moments or anything like that.
Yeah.
It would just be like when it felt very like on in the moment,
Yeah.
like if
I
something popped
love
up.
that. It's like, and it's so crazy, like when people can just like acknowledge
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I mean, m- maybe the person that I went through this breakup with, like, maybe he was just like having a moment and overreacted, but
Hmm.
it's like forever, I won't know
I
because,
know. I
it's like
know.
he just
I
has
know.
like disappeared. I
Yes.
mean, I've had little, like glimmers of like I've run into his mom at the grocery
I know,
store.
how wild.
It's kind of wild. But so I've just kind of like clung to those things that have helped me
Yeah.
but really, I mean, it's like just leaning on the tools that I have, like the friends, the
Yes.
community.
Oh, huge part. Huge
Huge.
part for a breakup. Don't walk it alone.
Yeah.
Ever, 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 ever. Like, even if, like, maybe you don't have anybody where you're at, like,
Yeah.
let's say you move to a new city for this person and a
Yeah.
breakup happens, even if you find an online community, like, just
Just do
don't do
that.
it by
Yeah.
yourself.
You
Don't.
cannot just like raw dog it.
No, no,
Yeah.
no, no. I don't want that for anybody. Like, you need
Yeah.
people that either just totally understand or gonna be there for you, or quite literally just be in the same space
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, you need your people.
And it's funny. I feel like there's like a community at the gym now that doesn't know that they're like I've never like talked to any of them or like but
Mm.
it's like I just really started every time I was sad, like going to the gym,
Yes. Yes, yes,
and
yes. That's beautiful.
there were a lot of times where I would just like be lifting weights and cry.
No. Down bad crying at the gym.
Literally, I was like, I feel like such a cliche right
No,
now,
literally.
but it really, if for those of you who don't know, she was quoting
Oh,
Taylor
there's Taylor
Swift. So
Swift.
yeah.
Yes.
But I think it just, yeah, that really got me through. It was
Yeah.
just like the consistency. So like that, you know, brings me to my next question. Like, what are some other tips? So like community,
Ooh. Yeah,
I would throw
definitely.
in gym.
Oh,
But I
absolutely.
do feel like that's so cliche.
It
Like,
is.
girl gets broken up with, like she goes to the gym.
Yes, but then
Yeah.
too, though, I think that exposed something to me is how much I would maybe put more into the
Yeah.
relationship than sewing into myself. And so that's where I'm like more so now is like I'm trying to step in. How do I keep it very much more focused on me and making sure my needs are met, keeping those routines solidly and not fall into where it can get a little people
Yeah.
pleasing tendencies, in the
Yeah.
relationship.
Especially when you're like first falling in love and you're
Oh,
just like, "Oh,
I
fuck the
know. I'm
gym.
like, screw
I'll
it.
do
I'll stay up all night. I'll
it."
talk to you and I'm not going to go to the gym. And where do you want to eat?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you
Forget.
want, I'll do all of it.
Yeah. Just like me.
Yeah, like me.
Pick
Do you
me.
like this version of me? Is this your favorite? Yeah, when it hits too hard.
Too close to home,
Yeah,
Jenna.
I know.
Too close to home. I know. I read something about like how the cool girl,
Uh-huh.
like showing up as the cool girl, really just allows men to be like on their bullshit, like
Mhm.
it just does.
Mhm.
And, that was part of, I did that a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure that I really wanted to be in a committed relationship, and it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it was funny, like once I kind of settled in, he's like, oh, let's jump to back out
Well,
now.
it's
Yeah.
like once you started doing the
Relationship
relationship
stuff. Yeah.
stuff, and that's how you'll weed them out. But do it at appropriate timing and
Yeah.
understand. But that's how you start weeding out and getting to know
Putting some
people's
pressure on their
attachment.
necks.
Just a little bit. You need
Yeah.
to see, like, do you actually show up? Like, can
Yeah.
you handle emotions, period,
Yeah.
stress, conflict? I mean, all the things that make an actual long-term commitment,
But do we feel like there are men out there? I
I
mean, we've
do.
kind of joked about this. I mean, I feel like they just don't. I kind of have like the reverse of daddy issues because my dad is like, "What do you mean you won't come at 3:30 in the morning to take me to the airport? What do you mean you won't show up to
Yeah.
just like walk my dog because
Yeah.
I'm cold and don't want to?" Like,
Yeah.
my dad is so
On it.
incredible. Yeah, and like everyone that, I mean, he has his own set of issues, but like, but
Yeah.
in terms of like showing up for me and showing up for my mother and like now my daughter and like,
Yeah.
my dad is just like, I'm like, do they make men like this anymore?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I was like, well, I have different stories over here, but yeah, they
Yeah.
do for sure. There are good men out there. There
Yeah.
really are. Yeah, it's a mess across the board, if I'm being
It
honest.
really
Like, it's
is.
men and it's women.
Oh,
I
for sure.
I get to,
Right.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm like, we do have this like men bashing thing going on, which
Which I
is
don't want to participate. I
no,
love
it's
men.
hilarious. Like, I think it's funny, okay?
Okay.
Like, just for the teasing part of it,
Yeah.
but not like an actual, like, I don't want it to be like the literal
Yeah.
message. You know
For
what I mean? I
sure.
think it's like to say that this toxicity isn't okay, but that really does go across the board.
Well, I think it's interesting too. I read somewhere where it's like, now that we like don't need men for like financial security,
Yeah.
it's like up until 1973, I think we needed a man to open a checking account.
Woo, God.
I know.
That's
So
crazy.
it's like now that we don't need them for that and we need them for actual just like personal,
Yeah.
their personalities
Yeah.
and their emotions.
Like sincere compatibility.
Yeah, they're really failing.
Yeah. Well, and that's, yes, that's why I'm like, a little bit of grace in the sense that we're all working with this. Like, this is so new. Like, at the end
Yeah,
of the
it
day, oh my
is.
gosh, I have to tell so many clients who come in, I'm like, guys, let's be so real. Like, we're finally talking about these things. We're finally talking about attachment
Yeah.
science. We're finally
Or
talking
like,
about
this is
how to
how I feel about this. And like,
exactly
yeah.
how to even communicate, how
Okay.
to even listen. Like, we never talked about that,
I
and
know.
then now we're like really wanting it and expecting it. So I'm like, give a little bit of, we have to like have almost realistic expectations, but then there's like some sincere things to
Right.
look out for. But yeah, I definitely know that there are guys out there who will show up, who can
Have the
uh,
capacity.
have the
Capacity
capacity
is a
and
big,
communicate. Like,
right.
that's like the huge thing, is being able to communicate through if something does come up.
Right. I remember that was one of the things in like our last conversation. Um he was like he said some things that he had been holding on to,
Mm,
and he was, and I said, "Well, why didn't you bring these up that they bothered you when they happened?"
yeah.
And he was like, "You should just know." And I
Oh.
was like, "Is
Oh.
that how the world works?"
Well,
Like,
interesting. Mm-hmm.
while I'm over here telling you, "Well, this bothered me and this is why." It's like, "But your expectation is that I should just like know?"
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought that was interesting because it's like, no, you
Well,
can't
that is associated with like
avoid it.
avoidance.
Right.
Yeah. There's
Because
like
they
a
like shove it down.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's this part of me that, or a part of them that will feel like, if you really knew me,
Yeah.
you would just
That
know this about me, and so
that
therefore
literally was
now
the
I feel betrayed by you.
yes.
And it's really this betrayal wound at the end of the day, because early on, for whatever reason, they learned that they couldn't trust the adults in their life, so therefore, who do I trust? That's subconscious, so they're not
Mm,
consciously thinking that, but that's the pattern they're
that's
living
what's
out of.
happening.
Yes,
Yeah.
deep down in there. And so that's like a thing, and they're going to have these interesting standards,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
it did feel like
And that aren't even communicated fully, and
right.
it's placed on you instead of like their own ownership of stuff.
Right. Well, that was what I kind of was like, no, this isn't mine to take.
Yeah.
Like, like if you had said something to me, you had said it had bothered you, but I kept doing it, like then it's on me, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But I just, yeah. So it's, yeah. Okay. So so we hit
Oh,
the gym.
yes.
I know, it's
Sorry,
okay.
rabbit
We can
trail.
we
Yeah.
can we can rabbit hole. That's the whole fun of
Perfect.
a
Yeah.
podcast, right?
Yeah.
What would you therapy, obviously,
Mm,
right? Well,
for
that kind of
sure.
goes in community, right? Don't you think that's the first one?
I think that's a sidestep to it, because
Okay.
community sometimes is just like quite literally, I just need somebody to like hang out with or do
Yeah.
new hobbies or just like kind of rediscover myself. I feel like that's a huge, I don't know, it could be its own category, maybe goes with community, but is the rediscovery phase too.
Yeah.
Who am I now? Because I am meeting myself for the first time outside of this relationship, right? Because
Yeah.
we're always growing, we're always evolving. So we're now a little bit different coming out of a
Well, that
relationship.
is a big thing,
Yeah.
and I've talked about this with friends. It's like, yeah, I mean, like the grief that I was already kind of, I lost my dog at the beginning of the summer, and then this relationship. And so it's like when you carry um grief around, it does change you. I have
Yes.
felt like heavier,
Yeah.
it's like
Yes.
the joy doesn't come as easy,
Yes.
and it's like a wave,
Yes.
it's like some days I'm
It's
like,
not linear. You
it's
just
really
never know.
not.
Yeah. And really such is life,
Yeah.
right? And so that's also actually, I love that you brought grief up, because that's another huge portion to it. And that's why maybe it would be helpful to work with a therapist who understands grief. Like, there are
Yeah.
materials out there, but understanding grief, what does
Yeah.
that mean? What does it look like when it happens? And quite frankly, we should understand that anyways, just as much as joy, because that's
Right.
just as much a part of our life.
For sure.
All and forever and ever and ever. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's funny that I said that. Sorry. But I think also tackling the grief portion of things and knowing how
Yeah.
that impacts you even on a physiological level,
Right.
especially when it's fresh after a
I
breakup.
know.
Oh my gosh, those first 30 days, those first
Yeah.
30 days.
Oof.
Those are tough, especially
Yeah.
if you like live together or you just spent so much time
Time
together.
together.
You're used to like getting a text at a certain time or the phone call or going
Mhm.
home and doing dinner. They're sitting at the kitchen table, like whatever it may be. I remember like feeling like almost like the ghost of the person in my house.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I feel like they're supposed to be here or I saw them and they're not
Yeah.
actually
And
here.
they're not actually
Yeah,
here.
and then you get
Yeah.
hit with the emotion that comes up with that. And so I feel huge on processing through the grief, especially at the early phase.
I
And
think like a big thing for me is I used to when I would like feel grief or feel sad, um, I'd kind of just like, ooh, and
it's
I'd do
uncomfy.
something to keep me busy.
Yeah.
And this time, I think I read somewhere it's like if you just sit with an emotion for 90, is it
Yeah.
90
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
seconds?
I believe so.
It'll just like fade off.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so maybe not fade off completely, but the intensity of it, the thing that
Correct.
you're like running from kind of
When we
fades off.
when we sit with the actual emotion that's coming up in our body, not necessarily the feeling, because the feeling is our brain's interpretation of the emotion.
Mm.
Emotion is just the initial spark in our body.
Okay.
So a lot of times maybe people are sitting in things for longer. There's a side too that you could have trauma in your body and having emotional flashbacks and stuff like that. But otherwise, it's maybe you're sitting more so in the story. So I felt sad, but now it means I'm going to be lonely forever. No one's going to love me. That's not sitting in the emotion. Now you're in the feeling. Your brain's trying to actually interpret the feeling of sadness instead of being able to sit and be like, oh, I feel sad.
Yeah.
And just letting your
like letting that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's so many practices you can do to just sit in it, even crying, just
Yeah.
crying. But yeah, so a lot of people I think get stuck in the feeling, the story part, and maybe say that that's their emotion. That's not
Right.
necessarily their emotion.
It's the stories that their brain's like spinning up.
Yeah.
I
And that
remember
gets activated at the very beginning of a breakup. Your brain is like really going nuts because you're having so many emotions and
Yeah.
everything's changed so quickly and your brain is trying to be like trying to solve it for you.
Right.
But that's what can make you crazy. Like a feeling of crazy. And I think hence why going to the gym or
Right.
practices like that to help get you out of the environment, move your body.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
to
get in your get the endorphins going.
yeah.
And I remember I sent you a text and I was like, "Well, what if I did this different and this different?" And you were like, "This is just your brain's way of
Yeah.
like bargaining so you can like
Yep.
get it back on track." Like
Yes.
that's all it's trying to do.
Totally. Lots
And
of survival in there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
It
Like I
really
do
is.
remember like having this like bargaining thought where like maybe if I could just like if I agreed to and then all the
Mm-hmm.
things that I really sat back and thought that I was agreeing to
Mm-hmm.
would be to like keep shrinking
Yeah.
myself. And I do really give him credit that I think he already intuitively knew that
Mm,
he that I was shrinking myself, and I think that made him really
I could see that.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um
And instead of having the conversation
yeah.
about it and being like, we have the best chemistry, love you, but I feel like like you have a different life that you're meant
Yeah.
to live and honestly I'm weighing that down. Makes me sad.
Yeah.
Instead of like having real conversation,
Yeah.
avoid,
Right.
abandon. Yeah, and
But
that's the
also
pain.
it's like the part of me that's like, okay, if you can articulate that, well, why can't they rise to the
I don't know if I think that's the hard part is I don't know if they can fully articulate it.
yeah.
They probably didn't fully put it together. There could be a little bit of a thought, but then that brings such a discomfort in their
Yeah.
nervous system, you know. And gosh, I think I saw a quote like when you're picking a partner, you're really picking their inner child. And I was like, woof, that is so
So
true.
true.
Because that's
Yeah.
really what shows up in those really hard moments. Because that's when all these things really get wired in.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to go and look at those things. Because
Right.
otherwise, it's
Well,
just
and ask those questions. And
asking
if
those
they don't want to answer
questions.
those questions, then they're avoiding
Yeah.
things. And that's like a bigger thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And I do think that I didn't do a good job of. I mean, I think I was asking those questions and I saw it, but I didn't want to see it,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
chemistry and we have fun and all these
It's hard.
things, right?
Yeah.
But then I also, Logan Yuri, she actually works, I think, for him. She's like a
Oh,
scientist, like
very
a
cool. Yeah.
data relationship
Cool.
scientist.
Yeah.
She was like, imagine you're picking a partner that she was like, when my baby was first born, it was in the NICU for 2 months. Imagine you're picking a partner that's literally going to take over your brain. And like that really is
Oh,
how
I've
I'm moving forward. Yeah.
100%. I thought the same. I've thought
Like,
that,
who
but my
cares about
example,
chemistry?
yeah, my example has been like for the day that I lose my mom because that will be rough for
Yeah.
me. I already know. And so I'm like, who's going to be there because I will be down and out for the count. And I
Same.
don't know what it's going to look like at all,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, I need to know that it's somebody that I can really like lean
Lean on.
into.
And it's interesting, it's like my dog died and that kind of was not handled well. And then since then, my mom's been diagnosed with like colon cancer. And
Yeah.
so, my mom is my best friend too. And so it's like for all of her things, it's
Yeah.
like she's still like my mom. And
It's still gonna be a hard hit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So she's going to be fine, but it does make you confront that reality. And it is like
Exactly.
this person would not have the capacity to like help me through this in like a
Yeah.
real way.
Yeah.
Like I would still be carrying
Yeah.
the load.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
And I think that like we have to put that kind of thought in our head to make it like full on serious. But at the end of the day, like the truth is we really also just deserve it even in the small moments.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be this big, big, big one. It's just
right.
I think the one that helps to stick in our brain better. But yeah, we also deserve somebody who's just gonna be attuned to God, you've been working so
So,
much today. I
yeah.
can tell you're exhausted. Like,
I
let
got
me,
dinner.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do dinner.
Yeah.
Just the little things, really seeing you
Yeah.
and caring,
Right.
you know.
The small those just,
But they have to be able to do that for themselves,
selves.
and that's like the big thing, and it's not going to be perfect. We're human, right? I won't be perfect at it. In
For sure.
doing all the therapy I've done, I'm not
Right.
perfect. But yeah, you want to know that those things matter in their own world, and if those things matter in their own world with themselves, it should translate over into
Right.
yours.
What have you started dating?
I have not.
Okay.
I know. I just got on the dating apps, which I was
Okay.
waiting to do. I was like, I don't know, guys.
Back
I
to
don't
the
know if this life is
streets.
for me.
Yeah. I think
But
every woman feels that.
I
Yeah.
I have been divorced before.
Yeah.
So, and I got into my relationship
Relationship quick.
super fast. It
Yeah.
was totally unexpected. I did not plan for that. I was going to go through my fun phase, and then I met my person at that time. And so, yeah, I didn't have the time I think I needed.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I wanted to be more intentional about that this time
Yeah.
around.
To
Just
actually
let
like
me
date.
decompress. Yes.
Yeah.
Let me just be with me. Let me focus on me. All of that kind of thing.
What do you think are like, if you could give like 3 tips
Ooh.
when you're like first starting to date, like,
Ooh.
I feel like that you like are things that you would like tell someone to like look for or like
Ooh. Are we talking about like literally going on like first date, or are we
yeah.
talking about like maybe you're early on
Yeah,
and
that.
dating each other?
Early on dating, like you've made it through the shit show because I feel like it's just like, oh, we're nonstop messaging. It's like that weeds out so many because they're like, don't ask you out, like whatever shenanigans they're pulling online.
Mm-hmm.
But then, yeah, like let's say you go out on the date and then you're like a couple dates in and you're like, oh, this is actually like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've heard, it's like, like I was listening to a podcast this morning and there was a money lady on there and she's like, you should be talking about money on the first date. I'm like, that is like,
Crazy.
what?
Yeah.
No, come on.
No.
That's crazy town. But
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that sometimes, speaking of magic, because we've been inundated with all these like tips and tricks,
I know.
it's like women date from like, it's almost like they're interviewing someone. They're like, okay, what's
Oh,
your
I
this?
know.
And like that to me is so unsexy.
I know.
And
It
it's like,
is.
I don't want to like ask you what your like, like attachment style is on the first date. Like, I just want to like
But
catch a
it's also
vibe.
so fear-based.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
so
Okay.
fear-based. Like, I'm gonna make this wrong decision,
Mm,
or like, I'm scared I'm gonna be wasting my time. It's
time.
like we're trying to avoid, like,
Or like really like streamline this very messy
yeah,
process.
yes.
Yes.
And it's
Okay.
like, hello, do we do that with friends that we're
No.
meeting and getting to know?
No.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's like the other big thing. That's why doing the work for yourself, just taking 100% responsibility is going to be everything, because
Yeah.
then you can just be with you through that whole process. But I think we put a little bit too much of the pressure out there on the other person way too early.
Yeah.
And it should be a little bit more fun. Like, it makes sense that it brings up nerves. I'm not saying you can't have emotions along the process, but it should be something like, let's make it a little bit more organic and natural
Yeah.
in the things that we're discussing, because honestly, that's even important on their end to discovering about you.
You. Right.
Yes.
That's a
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah. Let it come out, because no way we'll really, really, really know somebody just by some of those facts that quickly.
Yeah. And it
Maybe
also,
some things, but it's very minimal.
right. And also I feel like it's like, yeah, almost feels like we're like biohacking dating,
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
it's,
I love how you just said that. Like, yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
yeah, like,
And the
just like,
biohacking, think of how much, like, a lot of people get into that, and it's very fear-based. I'm really afraid of
right.
dying.
Right. It's
I'm
like,
really afraid of being sick.
newsflash, we're all gonna die and we're all gonna get sick. I'm not
You
saying you don't take care of yourself,
Yes.
but this whole like your coffee has to be at this insane amount and like
Yes.
you gotta be cold plunging, which like then on the other side, it's like cold plunging isn't that great for women,
I
like in our
know.
hormone health. And like it just,
Nuance, gray.
yeah.
I know.
But
I
people
know.
are so, I mean, it's uncomfortable for me, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like,
Yes.
I think you try really hard to like, you're like, well, I don't want a person like that.
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
like that was a dumpster fire, but it wasn't. I
Yeah.
mean, there were a lot of really beautiful, I mean, I think that's why I'm so
Yeah.
upset with the way that because there were so many like beautiful
Good
things about
things.
it. Yeah.
Yes. I understand. I've honestly, relationships, I mean, my gosh, if I shared some of the things that happened, and like even in my past marriage, awful, right?
Yeah.
Truly a mess. But I've appreciated all of them so much. It
Yeah.
taught me so much that it taught me things about myself nothing else would have been able to show me. It
Right.
truly, hands down. And so I'm like, I needed that. And I want to be this evolved person. And I want to know, like, it's only made me like a happier, more authentic me at the end
Me.
of the
Right.
day. And
Well, I think we're also like, I think what was so cool before this relationship and I experienced like this very like deep intimate like connection
yeah,
is I think I didn't because I already have a child, so I'm not dating to like I don't want any more other children like
yeah,
me. Like if
yeah,
someone else has children, that's fine. But like
yeah,
I don't need to like have a baby. Like
yeah, yeah,
um so I think my dating was like way more organic and really was like fun based. And
yeah.
then it was like this thing kind of just like evolved,
Happened.
which I
Yep,
thought was like so cool because
totally.
I think it is better to date from a place of just like just go out and have fun. There's do you listen to Tinks at all? She has a
No,
podcast.
but I've heard,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard things.
So she's like, I think we just have to take like our foot off the like pressure valve that
Yeah,
women are just like, "Ugh, it has to be like this, it has to be like this, it has to be
yeah,
like this." And it's like just go out and like experience someone's energy and
yeah,
start there,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And then
And
you can kind of like work back from that.
definitely. And like at the end of the day, relationships are risk.
Well, yeah. But
And
that's what everyone's trying to like and it's like
avoid. Everyone's
even
scared of it.
even if it works out, you're still
Still
gonna
a
end up
risk.
heartbroken because they're
Yes.
gonna die. Like,
Grief.
yeah.
Grief. That's why I'm like, oh my gosh, people need to get familiar with it
Yeah.
and to know, like, it's, and going even further back, we need to teach our nervous systems, like, we're actually safe even in discomfort. You
Right.
know, there's just there's so many little intricacies. That's why I'm like, oh, please, like, go do your own therapy. I'm such a proponent for it, especially if, I mean, you just want to have a therapist who understands all of it.
Yeah.
But if they do, it's so insightful
So
and so helpful in
insightful.
all of these things. But yes, in that dating, I think there's just such an avoidance, a fear of this pain, fear of discomfort, fear of loss, fear of whatever you name
Well,
it.
and all layered into that soup is
Yeah.
also replacing. Well, I didn't like this person. I'll just
Uh
replace them.
yes.
Like I'll just swipe again. I'll
Yes.
just there's got to be somebody out there better for them, than this person for me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, but if you have all these other boxes, like maybe you
Mm-hmm.
should just like take a breath and
Mm-hmm.
like figure it out together. But I
Yeah.
think so many people are just like, well, fuck it. I'll just find someone new?
Yeah, which yeah, that's a
It's like
whole
very
other can.
throwaway.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's like, but if you have all of these like values that align and like you like
Mm.
believe the same things and like, but then you're just like, there's like these two things that like, and like you're like, well, I'll just go find someone
Well,
else.
and then it's going into that like perfectionism,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, to me, it's like another way of also being in fear and avoidance because there's obviously some level of being really terrified of just being in this commitment of with an
Right.
imperfect
Person.
person
Yeah.
and walking through an imperfect life
Yeah.
together,
Like
you
no
know?
one's going to be like perfect
No,
for you.
no, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. I think you just want to find some like baseline things that are important, like obviously values and
Yeah.
everything aligning. I think a baseline too of just like health, and like a self-awareness piece. There's some things that you can make sure is there.
Yeah.
But uh, uh, I do think a little bit on like what's getting pumped out on social media of these like hard and fast rules
Rules.
really
Yeah.
trip people up,
They
and
do.
especially because not all those rules apply to each and every single person. It
Right.
just it just doesn't. Like I said, I keep saying it, but it's too nuanced.
It is very
It really
nuanced.
is.
Okay, so that was dating. I do want to ask you a little cheese me about being a
Ooh,
therapist.
chisme.
Yeah, like
Okay.
what is your least favorite part of the job?
I think that some stories are really hard to carry.
Mm,
I don't They don't happen all the time, but that is tough, some of these stories. I'm not
yeah.
gonna lie. My least favorite part, it's such a mix because on one hand, it's such a gift to be able to see how messy things really actually are. Because I think if people really realized like what was really going on behind the scenes, maybe some pressure would be off a little bit
Yeah.
too. Um, but then there's this other part where it makes me almost a little bit jaded
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, but
Humanity is so awful to each other sometimes.
it
Yeah.
can get so awful and
Yeah.
so ugly. And that's hard. That's hard to carry. And then also feel like I don't necessarily have a place to just like offload that. Like I have to be
Yeah.
so intentional to do that,
Right.
and incredibly intentional
Yeah.
because I already know that sometimes I don't do that perfectly. So
Yeah.
sometimes I will literally physically get sick, because I'm just
Right.
holding on to so much. So that's probably one of
How do
the
you offload and like take care of yourself?
um, definitely, like, pretty typical, but it's like gym
Yeah.
for sure. I need to move my body, especially because I've been sitting
For sure.
that whole time.
Yeah.
Um, and I hope this can be understood in the way I'm gonna communicate it. But even in the session, I almost have to
Associate.
dissociate
Yeah.
a little.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't give my full heart, I don't give my full investment.
Yeah.
I have to like back off just a little bit. Like sometimes I'll have a laptop, make sure it's like almost in front of my heart in a
Right.
way, just because I'm like, I don't need to absorb all of
This.
this. So that's like another way. And then like slowing it down, doing my little creative processes. Like I've actually
Mhm.
loved that recently of like I'll just come home, put a moody light on, some music, and start like drawing,
Yeah.
just chill out. And then friends, having fun. And then just making sure I'm like truly like getting my sleep. Like it's funny, but you know how like I feel like athletes have to be so on top of like their
Right.
body and all the things and making sure they
Yes.
can perform? Honestly,
I
it's
know.
kind of like
It
that.
is.
It really is, right?
And you don't drink, right?
No, I don't drink.
How long have you been sober?
Gosh, I November 2023.
Wow.
I know.
I think that probably helps too.
I wish
Yeah,
it for all. I'm not gonna
yeah.
lie. It's I just at this point I don't even understand.
Why?
I do understand, but once you don't have a drink for that long, I feel like it's like the way that you feel.
Yeah.
I just am like I don't want anyone to drink because I want them to feel this.
This,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it's
And
so
by this,
clear.
you mean like just so clear.
You
Yeah.
just feel so clear. You never like wake up feeling kind of
Yeah.
about whatever. And then I don't know, even my brain just feels a little bit more
Well, yeah, of
online.
course. I think a lot of times I will talk to people that it's like they drink like wine every day. And I'm like, I'm not sober. Like,
Yeah,
I went out last night, I had
yeah,
2 cocktails,
yeah,
but anyone that knows me knows I am like a two cocktail. Like
yeah.
the friends I was out with, they kept drinking. I am not like annoying, but I just start drinking
Totally.
water. And there's just like a switch in my brain where it's like, you've had your 2 cocktails,
You had your fun.
you've had your fun,
Yeah,
and like you've had your margaritas. And
yeah,
like, I don't need alcohol to like feel loose. But,
yeah.
so when I talk to clients that I'm like, what would it feel like if you just like did not drink during the week? Like if you saved it to where you were just like either out to dinner or socially, like,
Yeah,
um, and one of my friends, I think, yeah, struggles with alcohol
yeah.
issues, and like, I'm like, your whole life would feel a lot different if you
It
just like,
changes people's
yeah,
lives.
stop drinking.
Yeah, I have one client and they own a business. They had a lot going on. They're successful in all these things, but they were drinking often. And I was really encouraging. I was like, I'm not trying to sit here. Like, you are going to make a choice at the end of the day what works best for you. But I
Yeah,
really think that if you took this out of your life, so many
so
things would
much would
shift.
change. Yeah,
Like, because it rolls into like, well, now some people like will just feel bad about themselves the next day. Like, or the
the
way
shame
they're
spiral.
yeah, shame
Yeah,
spiral, or their inner dialogue's just a little bit meaner, or they didn't get to the gym because they're less motivated because maybe their
right.
sleep wasn't as on point. And it just like you just don't realize how much it bleeds into these parts of your world. And so he ended up stopping drinking. He'll have a
Right.
beer
Like
here
me.
and there,
Yeah.
but oh my gosh, he will continually come in and be like, I am so glad you told me to do that. His business has grown like
Right.
exponentially, relationship thriving, like all of these benefits. And he was able to put them in practice.
I
Like,
love
I
that.
know,
Yeah, that's
I
so
know.
cool.
And I'm like, there's something to it.
For
But
sure.
and again, it's not that he's like total zero sober.
Right.
He'll have a drink here and there. But for the most part, the majority, nothing.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot, like what the yogis talk about, like alcohol and like what it does to your auric field, and just like,
Mm.
yeah, it's a
It
poison.
is a
And
poison. It
it's
is.
fun. Like, again, I had
Oh,
2 cocktails last night. Like,
oh,
I am not
yes.
like but I think that if you're drinking every day, or you're like going through a really rough time, and like you find yourself like numbing out, like
Yeah.
it is really cool to just like zoom out and
Oh,
maybe just like
absolutely.
press pause on it.
Absolutely.
Um, well, we have reached our hour. Is there
I feel like
anything
we could keep
else? Well,
going. I'm
I
like, what else
always
are we
feel
gonna talk
like
about,
that.
girl?
I
I'm just
know.
kidding.
I'm like, is there anything else that you want to like leave us on? Like
Ooh.
breakup or otherwise, like a Jenna tidbit?
Hmm. I think at the end of the day, it's kind of the thing we've been repeating in here over and over, right? But I think it would be such a good idea, instead of thinking of all the things that are wrong around you,
Mm,
just take a look at what's going on, because at the end of the day, all we have control over,
is
100%
us.
control over, is ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, go to the gym, get in community, the thing you've been wanting to do that you've been putting on the burner, go do it. Go to therapy, get to know you. Like, we are our home.
Yeah.
Like, get to know ourselves intimately. There's
Yeah.
so much going on there. And that's why I'm like, but have fun with it.
Yeah.
Not in a way of like,
Like,
oh
almost
no,
like
I'm such a problem.
be
And
your best friend.
yeah, be your best
Be your
friend.
best
I love that. Be your
Yeah.
best friend, and then you'll know what to look for a best friend.
friend. Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Thanks, Jenna.
You're welcome. I had so much fun.
Me too. Okay. The
Okay.
end.
The end.